Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today on this beautiful Wednesday, and welcome to Navigating Northern. This is our weekly webinar series, which is designed to provide you with answers to questions about topics that you need to know. So today's topic is all things emergency services. And what we're going to do is we'll start out with a introduction. You'll hear from everybody. They can introduce themselves, what they do at the college, and then we'll move into the actual interview portion. So we already have some predetermined questions, and these questions really come from questions that I receive as a recruitment officer and things that I think interacting with students, things that they need to know. So we do have our questions prepared and ready. And then we also have the chat function below, which is available if you do have any questions that haven't been covered. You can pop those questions down below as well. And Julie will be there to monitor them if you do have questions. And this is also being recorded. It is live right now, but if you aren't able to be with us live, it is being recorded and it will be available on our website later under our Navigating Northern webinar section. And you can access all of our previous webinars there as well. Okay, so let's get started. Let's do a roundtable introduction. Let the viewers know who you are, the position that you hold at the college, and how our students benefit from the work that you do. So let's start with Rick first, and then we'll go to Craig, then Terry.
My name is Rick Lemieux. I'm actually not the coordinator for Police Foundations yet. Be taking over in January. Our current coordinator, Mac Pettigrew, is actually already in Florida, so he's left us, but he's still coordinator until the end of the month. But I am the full-time professor for Police Foundations, and I've been here since August of this year. I left a career of policing where I was there for 20 years as a police officer. And what I could offer the students for Police Foundations is I've actually trained hundreds of police officers down at the Ontario Police College and across Canada and the United States. I do bring in a lot of knowledge in policing and a lot of teaching experience as well. So I'm excited to welcome new students to our program. And was there something else you had asked? Am I missing something there?
No, that's it. You covered it all.
I think I went too much. I gave too much information.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
That's one thing I might do.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, Craig.
Okay, so my name is Craig Hartley. I'm the part-time program coordinator for the PreService Firefighter program here at Northern College. I've been with Northern College since I think around 2007. I took over as the coordinator in 2014. At the same time, I've been a full-time firefighter for the last 16 going on 17 years, which is pretty characteristic of some of the other people that are in the program as well. The other instructors are also full-time firefighters and or full-time, part-time paramedics. So, I mean, the program gives you the benefit of real life experience, maybe not so much all of us going to school to be firefighters, but at least learning from our mistakes that we're still lucky enough to be here to recite.
Amazing. Okay, thank you, Craig. Terry?
Hi, I'm Terry Price. I'm the coordinator and core professor for the paramedic program here. I've been a paramedic for 34 years, 10 of which was as a critical care flight medic. And I've been teaching here at the college for 21 years. I've also taught for the base hospital programs, both at the primary care level and the critical care level as well. I think that's been it. I'm going to say if I have other questions.
Perfect. Nope, that's it. Thank you, Terry. Okay, Julie. I almost called you Jules. Julie.
Afternoon, everyone. My name is Julie Labbe. I'm the admissions officer for Northern College. So I take care of the Timmins, Haileybury, Kirkland Lake, and Moosonee campus. Anyone who applies to college through the Ontario College's website, the application comes to me and I assess everybody's requirements for each program and let people know if they're missing anything and where to attain all that information, whatever is needed.
Perfect. Okay. And then for myself, my name is Kara. I'm one of the liaison recruitment officers here at the college. There was 2 of us, but as of today, there is now 3 of us. So we're really excited to have our third member, Hope, on our team. And you may have seen me at maybe your high school, community event, or something going on, but I'm kind of your first stop if you have any questions about the college. And we really tried to connect you with the people that you need to talk to. And I take care of Southern Ontario. So anything below, I think it's Huntsville now, Huntsville over to Ottawa, over to Windsor, that is my area. And then my counterpart, Sumit, does Northern Ontario, as well as Hope, who is our Indigenous recruiter. So let's get started with our questions. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Okay. So let's start with an overview of each program. What we're going to do, just to make this less confusing for you viewers, is we'll actually just start with one area first, and we'll have them answer all those questions, and then we'll move to the next section. So Rick, let's start with your program.
Yeah, so our program, basically it's your first step into a career in law enforcement. We work hard at giving the students knowledge that they need to apply to any police service in the country. We're have a very high success rate. Just in Timmins alone, 20% of our police officers that work in our community took the program here at Northern College, which is huge. And with the Ontario Provincial Police in our area, we have many. I have over 50 emails now, because I'm actually going to be putting up a wall of fame with our former graduates that are now in law enforcement. We also, you get to learn a lot from frontline officers. A lot of the instructors are working police officers. Constable Field is one of them. Staff Sergeant Mike Forte is going to be a new instructor here starting in January, as well as Detective Sergeant Trottier with the OPP. So we bring a lot of experience to the program. We do teach a lot of communication skills with the Police Foundations program that can be used in a variety of different careers. And we've had a lot of students that have went on to different things. We've had, of course, police officers. We've had M&R officers that have successfully graduated from our Police Foundations program. People into the military. We have 911 dispatchers. People that went into social work. The reason I mention all that is a lot of times people think Police Foundations basically is just, policing, but there's other avenues as well. Like one of our students, actually two of our students right now just applied to work with the commissionaires. They contacted me asking if there's any Police Foundation students that were interested, because they were looking specifically for Police Foundation students in our region. And two of them applied, and within a week had jobs working security here in Timmins. And it was the best thing about it is the commissionaires they were going to work around their college schedule. So there's opportunities when you're here. We do also work a lot in the community. I get our students involved with the Lord's Kitchen. This past week did the Cram a Cruiser food drive for the community. And there's a reason for that. A lot of police services and a lot of law enforcement agencies are looking for people who have a lot of volunteer hours and get involved in the community. So I'm trying to instill that into our students right off the top. Here, this is what we got to do. You got to be out in the community. You got to be involved. On top of getting a working knowledge of the Criminal Code of Canada, the Highway Traffic Act of Ontario, the Liquor License Act of Ontario, all that is great. But we do focus a lot on the police testing, physically, mentally, the psychological testing, interviewing. So I'm very proud to say, yeah, we're quite successful. One of our graduates from 2 years ago just called me last week to tell me he just got on with Timmins Police Service. He's actually going to the Ontario Police College, where all police officers have to go for 3 months of training. And he's very appreciative of all the things that he got to learn from the college here, because he's not going there in the dark. And speaking with the OPP recruiter, she was telling me that what they do is they look at Police Foundation students first, and what they do is they look at their grades. If you have good grades while you're here in the Police Foundations program, it gives them the confidence to entrust in you that when you go to the Ontario Police College for those 3 months, that you'll be able to get good grades there, because they do have to spend a lot of money to send somebody to get trained. So if you could prove to them that, yeah, you can, and you do have a working knowledge of the criminal code and all the stuff that you're going to learn in our program, then you have an advantage over a lot of other people to get into law enforcement.
Great. Thank you. And just to clarify, I don't remember if you said this, but it's a 2-year program. It's a diploma program.
Right.
Julie, did you want to talk a little bit about the admissions for that program? The requirements? I just sprung, oh, you're muted and I sprung that on you. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Yeah, so for the Police Foundation program, the requirement is a grade 12 English. So anybody applying, I just look at their grade 12 English. If you're 19 and under, coming out of high school, you'll need your Ontario Secondary School Diploma, and over the age of 19, I just look at the English, whether you have the OSSD or not. It could be an English from also a college program like a communications, and if anybody is missing that requirement, we offer testing for that or academic upgrading.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Now the next question, it's kind of a general one. I'll only ask it once and maybe all 3 of you can add things in if you want. But let's talk about our new Integrated Emergency Services Complex. Very long title, but it's worth it because that building is amazing.
I can go first, I guess.
Sure.
If that's it. Yeah. Yeah, this building is one of the reasons I left my career in policing. I've been doing it for 20 years, but teaching in this beautiful building with the scenario rooms, and which I got to say is probably the favorite part of the students that we have. When they come in, they want to put into practice what they've just learned in class, and that's what we do. So with this building, we're able to do things like, well, you learn how to do, we talk about mental health and how to de-escalate. Well, now I hired an actor that works with the OPP to help them train, and they come in here and we have an apartment set up right in this building where the students can actually go and put into practice what they just learned. At the back of the building, we have an intersection where we can set up collisions. So you learn in class about how to investigate a collision, and instead of just sitting there and talking about it, we actually go out. I set up a couple vehicles. We actually brought in vehicles that were already all smashed up, just so that try to make it as authentic as possible. Of course, it's never going to be 100% realistic, but try to put the students in that mindset that it is real. And so with this building, it gives us a lot of opportunities to practice what we are teaching in the classroom, which is one of my favorite parts. Even in the courtroom here, I don't want to give away any secrets, but we get the students, they have to make notes just like a real police officer would, because a couple weeks, a month, 2 months later, I will summons them to court for something that they were involved in earlier. We actually have a courtroom where you could actually sit in the courtroom and you have to testify. I do have some friends that are lawyers, and they want to come in once the pandemic is over and there's no more COVID. They're going to come in and we're going to actually hold trials with real lawyers, and they're going to grill them like they're real police officers. And it's basically not to embarrass them, it's to teach them how important it is to make good notes. So a building like this, it's really going to prepare you for your career in policing.
Yeah, it's great. And we do have a time-lapse video of the building being built. If people do want to check that out, that's available on our website as well. Craig or Terry, did you guys want to add anything else about the building there?
Just a couple of things. Just to echo what Rick said. It's fantastic for our scenarios and for our labs because we have a full-size apartment set up, and there's no ceiling in the apartment. There's actually a catwalk over top, so other students can stand up top and watch the scenario going on and not interfere. There's a hospital room as well where we can go and do calls or hand off patients. There's a jail cell, which makes scenarios very realistic for some of the patients that we have. The outside, we have nice minus 34-degree weather yesterday with the wind chill, so that's great for doing car accidents and having the students out there practicing. So it took us years to put this concept of the building together, and they really did listen to all the coordinators. When we asked for something, they tried their best to incorporate it, and I think it really showed for the results. Plus the fact that the integrated part is the fact that we do have an actual ambulance service and fire department and police department here in the building. So we can, with their permission, go in and see their garage and their quarters and use that for some other training as well. So it really does make it good for the students.
Amazing. Craig, anything?
Yeah, again, just to build on everything that Rick and Terry are saying, not only are we integrated with the services within the community, we're integrated with each other's programs. So before, when we were in the other part of the campus, we were fairly spread apart. We didn't interact with each other at all, where now we do. We strive to be able to put on, we did it last year. I don't know if it'll be an annual thing, but we do a mock scenario where all the services are together. We've even brought in nursing to handle the hospital side of it, a retired dispatcher. So she does all the dispatching for us. So it runs just like a true call. We do debriefing afterwards. I think it gives the students where traditionally most of us don't come across each other's paths until we're on the road. This complex allows us to interface with each program on a daily basis. The students see what the Police Foundation students are doing, they see what the paramedic students are doing, and they see what we're doing. The building is fully designed around all the activities that each of our disciplines are going to be doing. Our garages are located across from our classroom. So like Rick was saying, when we teach a concept in theory in the classroom, it's very easy to, not every student learns the same way. They're not all theory students. They're not all practical students, but it allows us to use multi-modes of instruction to get our points across and to reinforce what we're teaching in the classroom. Outside of the physical fitness center that's in the main campus, we also have our own little physical fitness center within the integrated emergency service complex, which for police foundations, they do drill scenarios in there. Sometimes they include the fire students. The fire students are in there probably 3 days a week, training for their final fitness scenario. We kind of do a modified CPAT test, which all students have to pass before they can graduate the program, which just really is a test that simulates in a short time frame the amount of physical skills a firefighter might have to do in a real world scenario.
Great, thank you. And yes, I can attest to how nice that training room is. And you guys have those big things that you have to, do you have to roll those big heavy things? Is that
yeah, it's all, I mean, unlike, there's a lot of students that come in already physically fit, but we're all individuals and we all have our own plan. The thing is, when you come to the fire program, it's functional fitness. It's not fitness for the beach, is what I like to say. So our physical fitness instructor is fabulous, Mary Lindsay. She does a tremendous job preparing the students. So everything is tires for flipping, it's dummies for dragging, there's TRX machines, there's machines to simulate breaching ceilings and walls and climbing through mazes. It's yeah, it kind of really puts it into perspective what you might have to be doing on a daily basis.
awesome? Okay.
Can anyone, sorry, Kara, but can anyone elaborate on the simulation room?
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. Rick will probably be able to expand on that a little bit further. So we have what's called the ADMS, which is the Advanced Disaster Management Simulator. It's, for lack of a better term, it's basically Grand Theft Auto on steroids. It's a big...
it's true.
it's an interactive video game. It's designed to train not groups of people. Groups of people can watch it and be involved as players within it, but it's really designed to instruct supervisors or leaders of groups of people. So we're trying to pull off scenarios like Rick was saying outside. We're dealing with the elements. We're dealing with a time frame that is we don't control the time frame. Things are happening, and whether we want them to or not, they continue. In the simulator, it allows us to stop and restart. If it doesn't work properly, we can reset it. And although it doesn't function true to life where victims react the same and run away from explosions, it's meant more to drive the decision process from the incident commander to say, I need these people to move, or you can't just ask for an ambulance. You have to ask for an ambulance with a certain skill set on that ambulance. Do I need 2 paramedics? Do I need 3 paramedics? How many police officers do I need? What kind of vehicle do I need them in? So until the person actually asks for it, the person running the comms doesn't actually send that resource to them. So it's a really interactive tool. We're not quite using it to the full capacity that we can, but the instructors are learning at the same time as the students. But it is a pretty cool piece of equipment.
Rick wants to add something.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and a great thing about it is we could actually, with everybody having different schedules, the fire program, paramedic program, and policing program, it's hard for us to all get together and organize something that'll take hours. Here, even if we have 30 minutes together, we could actually get into the system and have our students all working together in one scenario. It takes, as long as you preset it up with everybody else, you can get in there within a half hour, do a couple scenarios on the, I was going to say video game. It's not a video game. It's way more advanced than a video game, but it does look like a video game, and it's just incredible. I've only gotten to see it used a couple times, and I'm looking forward to implementing it more and more throughout my career here for sure.
Awesome. Okay, so Rick, let's move on to the third question. I think you covered most of it. It was about why someone might be interested in pursuing police as a career choice. What career options does it lead to, and what pathways? If you feel like you've covered all that, I can move on to the next question. Well,
I was just going to say, if right now, especially in the next 10 years, in policing, there's going to be a huge demand. But the OPP, they hire one person per day every day of the year is their average. This year, they added an additional 200 officers to what they already do, and they got funding for next year as well, where they're going to be hiring more than what they normally do. I know police services across the country are very short on officers. Unfortunately, a lot of people applying can't pass the physical parts of it and that sort of thing. With this program, we actually, and as Craig said earlier, Mary is amazing. I've seen our students from the beginning of the year, and they've only been here since September. I've seen them drop time in their 1.5 mile run. And so a lot of people get intimidated with that kind of stuff. But if you follow what we're doing here and the regiment that Mary puts you through, you will be able to pass all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this is a great time to get into police foundations, because like I said, they're going to be hiring so many officers in the next 10 years that you'd be hitting it right at the right time. A lot of retirements and a lot of police services are expanding. So this is a great time to get into policing.
Perfect. You just touched on my next question as well, which was about the physical training component. Did you want to talk a little bit more about what that physical testing looks like?
Sure. So there's what's called the PIN test. And basically it's a 1.5 mile run, push-ups. They do sit and reach. And there's also a core endurance test that they do. You do have to do all these things to a certain level. It's different for people of certain ages, and a couple of different things that will be different. But we do prepare you for that. We have all the facility. We have the facility to actually get you trained to pass that PIN test. With the OPP, you have to be able to do it before they'll even look at you. So here in these 2 years, we'll get you going and get you ready, and hopefully send you on a path in life where you will be keeping fit as a police officer.
Amazing. So what I think I'm going to do in the interest of time is we will move to the next section, because the next couple of questions that I have are pretty general, so I think everybody can answer them together. But what we'll do is we'll move to you, Craig, and if you want to just do a little overview of your program, that would be great.
Sure. So the PreService Fire program is a 36-week program. It's a 15-week semester in the fall, 15 weeks in the winter. They finish roughly the last week of April for the second term. And then we, depending on how the schedule runs, we may have about a week off, and then we go straight into the 6-week term, which is the final term. Our final term is all practical. So there's no sitting in the class at a desk with a theory. It's a culmination of all the practical skills that they've been working on all year long. The students get to run auto extrication scenarios, hazmat, low angle rope rescue. We have our own burn building on our property. So unlike a lot of other places that have to rent time and students only get a weekend in there, our students are burning every other day for almost 5 weeks in a 2 to 3 story non-combustible building. So they're definitely honing their skills in there, putting out fires, searching for victims, taking incident command roles. To get into the program, be a high school graduate. It's very science-based, so it would be helpful to have a senior math and senior science to get in. Our pass rate is higher than most. We require a 70% to pass within the program. A lot of the colleges only request a 50, but the reality is the national certification exams that we write at the end of the year once you're a graduate, the pass rate is a 70. So there's no sense asking for a lower rate when you have to get more at the end of the year. Certification you'll get is, like I said, national certification. You can work anywhere in Canada, anywhere in the United States. The program is designed to give you all the base skills that you need to start your career in firefighting. It can lead off to many other things. It can lead off to technical rescue. It can lead off to urban search and rescue. It can lead off to hazmat, ice water rescue. It's just where you have to have a career plan. You have to know where you want to be, and this program gets you started in that path. Yeah.
Perfect. You just answered my next question anyway. So is there anything else you wanted to add about pathways and what it could lead to, or you think?
Yeah, so although it's not a direct pathway, a lot of students that graduate from the program end up sitting or getting jobs as wildland firefighters, because it's a good job in the summer and it relates a little bit to what they're doing in the program already. Many other students choose to go on to Terry's program and do the paramedic program. We used to have a bridge program, but with the new regulations that won't exist anymore, but it's still a really good option. The students we usually get are usually straight out of high school. They're 18, 19 years old. We're only a one-year program. They're super young. It's always good to go on and do something else and build your resume. In our own community, most of the students or most of the hires we've had in the last 10 years are now all college graduates from this program who have also gone on to be paramedics and have been working as part-time or casual medics in the meantime, waiting to get on fire. Some never go back to fire. They enjoy paramedics and stay there. We can also transition to a new program at Northern College, the Emergency Management, Terrorism, Pandemic Planning course, which is a postgraduate course. But students within the fire program will get credits throughout our 3 semesters together that are transferable to that program. So you would still have to do the program. It would just be a smaller workload in the second year. And finally, we're recognized by the Canadian Armed Force Base Board in Barrie as direct entry into their military firefighting program. So you would still have to do basic training, but you get to skip over a lot of things. You end up having to tick up, I think it's aircraft firefighting is the only additional thing that we can't offer here. And we do have, to my knowledge, 2 students from the program that are in that currently.
Very cool. Okay, so the next question was about the physical training. You mentioned that a little bit. Did you want to go into more detail about that?
Yeah, so although our program can only give you fitness 3 days a week, the reality of the fire service is fitness isn't a hobby or a pastime. It has to be a way of life. It has to be part of your everyday. And that's kind of hammered into the students daily. It's not enough just to go or to rely on what we give them in school to be prepared. They have to continue that in their off time as well. So like the other programs, the physical fitness instructor is very good at preparing the students. The end goal being passing our simulated CPAT test, which is the candidate physical abilities test. They end up climbing on a stair machine at a step a second, wearing 75 pounds of weight. After that 3-minute cycle, they drop 25 pounds off and continue the rest of the cycle wearing 50 pounds of weight. They have to pull 150 feet of hose. They have to raise and extend a ladder, carry 2 30-pound kettlebells a specific distance. They have to force their way through a simulated door, crawl through a maze that they've never been in before, drag a dummy, and breach a ceiling. And it's all measured distances. At the end of it, doesn't matter how good your time is, you still have to finish the course in under 10 minutes and 20 seconds. And if you're not, it doesn't matter if you're 100% student in the program. If you don't pass the physical fitness test, you don't get to graduate.
Wow. And what is the success rate on that?
This year so far, we're at 100%. It's really driven by the students. I've had students in the past be unsuccessful. Everyone's kind of got their own reason for not being successful, either not being honest with themselves or they've dealt with injuries over the year that have limited their progress within the program. So as much as we're a really physical program, we try to encourage students, we want them to be physically fit, but we ask them to try to reduce the risky activities outside of school, because if you get injured, your year's pretty much done.
Yeah, okay. Now that test, is it at the end of the program?
We run it twice. So the students just ran it right now. They ran it a week ago. It's not really for marks. Well, it is for marks, and it's just more of a gauge to know where they are at Christmas time, whether or not they need to improve. The risk, I guess, is they all did better than 10 minutes and 20 seconds. Some were down around 7.5 minutes, but now I'm worried that they're going to try and coast for the rest of the year. The final one is the end of April, and yeah.
Okay. Well, good luck to them. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll move on to paramedic. So Terry, if you wanted to do a little overview of your program.
Sure. Currently, the program is a 2-year program or 4-semester. The 3 semesters, first 3 semesters, you're here at the college. You're in class, you're in lab, you're in fitness. In the 2nd and 3rd semester, you also go out into the community and do some work in some nursing homes and hospitals and on the ambulance. The 4th semester, you're somewhere in the province of Ontario in the back of an ambulance for the entire semester. So you're there full time with a crew, and they're evaluating you and reporting back to us. Then at the end of that semester, there's a couple of review courses. And then in order to work as a paramedic in the province, so you have to write a provincial examination. And once you pass that, you're good to go. I say currently because since the program started as a 2-year program or a diploma program back in '99, there's been a lot more medications and skills added to it. So they're moving it to an advanced diploma or 3-year program, and COVID sort of put things on hold or delay. So they're looking now at possibly as early as September of 2022, they'll be going to a 3-year program, which will mean 5 semesters here and 1 semester on the road. But that's still, it's going to happen. It's just when we're not exactly sure. There's a lot of theory courses. It's quite a heavy workload. You also have lab twice a week where you go in and do skill sessions, you do practice scenarios or fake calls. You have fitness, and you also have lifting practice. And like Craig was saying, a lot of our students who are not successful in the program are not successful because of the lifting part, where you're lifting patients on the actual stretchers and chairs and the equipment that we use in the pre-hospital setting. And they have to be able to lift that to go on to the next semester. When you're in this program, it's a starting level. So there's 3 main levels of paramedic in Ontario. The first one is the primary care paramedic, which is what this program works to get you into. Then once you've got a couple of years experience under your belt, you can then apply and become an advanced care paramedic. So it's another almost year of training between the clinical portions in the hospital, the theory portions in classroom, and then your preceptorship on the road. And then if you wish, after another couple of years of experience as an ACP, you can apply for a critical care paramedic. And again, it's almost a year of training when you look at the theory classes, the clinical portions, and then the write-outs at the end. And then there's always the component of flight. So there are all 3 levels of paramedic that also do flight paramedicine. So taking patients from a scene to a hospital or from a smaller hospital to a larger hospital. So those are some different avenues that paramedics have. And a new field that's opening up, and it's really starting to take some roots now, and probably in the next year you'll see it really expanding, and that's community paramedicine. And rather than just dealing with patients in an emergent situation, it's dealing with patients who are at risk and looking after them before they get to the point where they need to call an ambulance for an emergency. So we're going into nursing homes and elderly patients' homes and keep an eye on them, and doing vital signs and monitoring their medications and their health status. And that's another avenue that's now starting to open up. We'll be adding to our program as well. Fitness, I can only echo what Craig and Richard have said, and that's, it is extremely important, because if you can't lift, you can't be a paramedic. If you hurt your back, you can't be a paramedic. So listen to what Mary says, deal with the lifting. We practice it in labs, we practice it in fitness, we practice it in the lifting portions of the class, but you have to pass a lift test every semester to go on to the next semester. And right now it's 190 pounds plus appropriate equipment in the first semester. Second and third semester goes up to 210 pounds. And that's a provincial standard. Every college has to pass that same lift standard of 210 pounds plus equipment. Okay. So unfortunately, if you can't pass that, you can't go on to the next semester. So if you're not able to lift heavy weights, it's something you should consider before you look at getting into the paramedic program. Because you can have all the book smarts and all the skill smarts you have, but if you can't do the actual lift, unfortunately, you can't go on to the next semester.
Wow.
And when you talk about getting into the program, besides being physically strong and being able to lift, you also have to have a clean criminal record. Because you can go through the college program and have some criminal past, but you won't be able to get into the clinical portions and go into some of the nursing homes or hospitals, and you might not get hired afterwards. So if you do have that, you might want to look at that or take care of it before you get into the program.
Perfect. Anything else, or did I cut you off?
No, I think that was it, unless you had other questions.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, is there anything that you suggest if someone's struggling with the lift portion prior, like they're nervous, like for me, if I wanted to go into paramedic and I was nervous about it, is there something that I can do to kind of prepare myself better for the program before?
Before you get into the program, you're going to have to work on your strength, your core strength. So start hitting the gym, hire a personal trainer that can work on your core strength to be able to do the lifts. Because cardio is fine, but you have to have the core strength to be able to do the lift, and you have to have the proper lift technique. Once you get into the program, Mary's brilliant when it comes to this. She will get you through it if she can. But if you don't have that core strength to begin with, she has nothing to work with. So if you're looking at getting into this and you're not a big person with a good core strength to begin with, go to the gym, get a personal trainer, start working on those aspects of it.
Awesome. One thing I just wanted to ask kind of in general, just as like a woman going into emergency services, it's possible for women to obviously become a paramedic, a firefighter, police, but I just want to reiterate for women that it is possible. Women do succeed doing those lift tests and the physical assessments too. So
absolutely, over half our class are usually female.
Perfect.
And if they follow Mary's commands and listen to her and work on their lift, they can get through the lift test quite easily.
Awesome. Yeah, because that's something as a recruiter I hear often from students that are nervous about that portion of it, but there is success in it. So I just want to reiterate that as well. Great. Thank you, Terry. Let me just see. I think you answered most of my questions. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to ask a general question for everyone about COVID-19, because obviously we're still in this pandemic. How has your programs been impacted, and what have you guys done to adapt to that? We can start with Rick.
Well, I mean, it has had an impact. It's had an impact everywhere. Our second year students this year, unfortunately, everything had to be online. With the exception of the last month, we were able to bring them in smaller groups and do scenarios with them, because as we were saying earlier, the scenarios and practicing what we teach in the class is one of the most important things of the program, and that's the part that the students like the most. And a lot of them were saying they were missing it. So we made arrangements where they could come in smaller groups, and we run them through scenarios and stuff of what they learned in their police powers classes. Our first year students, we only had 15 this year, so we were able to get them here at the school, and we actually had them in class, and we were able to do scenarios. And again, we'd separate them into 2 separate groups so we could do the scenarios with only 7 people instead of all 15, so 7 and 8 per platoon. So it has had an impact, but we've made the best of it, and the students are still enjoying the program. It is what it is. We have to go with what's going on, and yeah, so it has an impact, but the program is still at a level where it should be.
Thanks, Rick. Craig?
Yeah, sure. I don't really know that our program has been really impacted by COVID really all that much. Our program is always a small program to begin with. When COVID hit last in our third term, the end of our second term, beginning of the third term last year, we were down to 4 students. So I was lucky that I fell into that 5 or less groups, and we were able to continue with school. We were a little bit delayed for a few weeks, but we continued as if it was class any other year. There was other work on my part that, I mean, behind the scenes that they don't really see, you know, that was students showing up out of uniform, changing here at school, using our laundry facilities here to launder their uniforms and have them ready for when they showed up the next day. We have an extra sanitization cycle for wiping down all the surfaces that they touch. Our classroom's large, class size is small, so they're all at least 6 feet apart in the classroom. They wear their masks in the class. That's probably the hardest part, is wearing your mask. But I mean, the students have been part of it. We're coming up on a year on it. It's not new. It did impact on our students being able to do volunteer work. I didn't feel it was, although the volunteer component is extremely important, like Richard pointed out, I didn't want to do it at the risk of putting the students in the community to contract something that would affect a very short year here at Northern. So the volunteer stuff in the community with fire prevention, the Christmas parade, Musket District boot drive, all things that they do with the career firefighters downtown, that didn't happen. Along with that, our college, there's really no placement, but our program tries to work with the city fire department and find spots in volunteer stations across the city for students to either become on the payroll, so to speak, and to be a volunteer in the city, or at least get training opportunities. But COVID kind of slowed that down with all the processes that have to go on for the student to be able to get into that role. So the health checks, the physical fitness checks, all those things were slowed down. So it didn't happen last year. This year, out of 11 students, I have 2 students that were already in fire departments as volunteers. And there was another 5 out of the class that have gotten spots. So they're attending training outside of the course as well. Yeah, so that was, we were really lucky being in the smaller class size. Unlike a lot of colleges that maybe have 40 to 60 students, our students also don't have to share equipment. You know, their breathing apparatus is their breathing apparatus for the entire year. They've got their own 5-point harness, all those things. So, and they also get more one-on-one time with us, because I'm not trying to share myself with 40 students. The class runs very much like when I go to my full-time job, where I'm sitting around a table with 6 or 7 other people and having discussions. It's formal but informal. I mean, the kids aren't my family, but it's a more family-driven setting. Like, I know what's going on in their lives. I know how, if they've had a good weekend or a bad weekend. All the programs are the same. Every coordinator is very approachable and on top of what is going on with their students.
Yeah, I think that's what sets Northern College apart. And I actually have a question about this, but we are very community oriented and like a family. It's a small college and everybody kind of checks in on everybody. So thanks, Craig. Let's move. I think Rick's has to leave us. So thank you so much, Rick. That's pretty much the end of my questions anyway. So if students do have questions, I will keep his email in the chat here and you can contact him with questions that you might have. Okay, Terry.
Yeah, so COVID's definitely affected us. All of our theory classes have to be online. So the students can't be here on site, but thankfully our program does fall under what the ministry calls the support the healthcare workforce response. And because of that, we can have classes on site if they need to be. So for our labs, our fitness, our lifting, they can be face-to-face with proper COVID precautions. One thing is we've always kept our classes small. So when it comes time for labs, we only take 40 students in at the maximum. And when it comes time for our labs, we break them in half. So there's only 20 in a lab. And we then take that group of 20 and break it up into 5. And they each have their own ambulance equipment and go do scenarios. So they've always been in small groups in labs to begin with. So it really hasn't affected the labs too much. But like Craig was saying, our placements and our volunteer work have really been diminished this year. Placement spots are not taking students at the moment. They're starting to open up slowly, but it's a provincial problem. And our students have done a lot of volunteer work as well. They do volunteer first aid at fall fairs. races around the city, and they haven't been operating this year, so we haven't been able to do that. So overall, it has affected the program, but it hasn't diminished it too much at this point. We're still able to get through and get the information across.
Awesome. Thank goodness for technology. Okay, so my next question, I have 2 more questions left. What would you say sets Northern College's program apart from the other colleges' program? Craig, you want to start?
Yeah, I think you already touched on a little bit. I mean, Northern College campus is small. Everyone seems to know everyone, so you can't hide from anyone. It's very much a family sort of setting. I like the smaller class sizes. I think the students learn better. They're not, they're more apt to ask questions because the group is tighter, if you want to call it that. They don't seem to be as shy to ask questions because they're not in such a large setting. For my program specifically, having the on-site burn building is, I mean, there's only maybe 1 or 2 other colleges in all of Ontario that have their own burn site. So the amount of time that a student can get in that facility to hone their skills is, I can't quantify that enough. Yeah, again, it's everything you need is here. Everything is close. The residences, if you had a good pitching arm, you could probably hit one building with the other with a baseball. There's a grocery store and a restaurant, pardon me. Oh, we had a grocery store. There's a mall across the street. So students don't necessarily have to travel far from campus to get the necessities they need to live here. Yeah, again, the small class size, I can't emphasize that enough. I've had students that have gone to other colleges and their chief complaint was, although the pass rate was a lower expectation, they couldn't get enough time with instructors and equipment because so many people had to share stuff.
Yeah, and I actually, just to add on to that, and then we'll go to you in a second there, Terry, I actually think Rick is meeting with a student that was at another college, took the program at another college, and that was the complaint at that college, was how large the class sizes were. So that's why they were interested in checking out Northern. Okay, Terry.
I would just echo everything they said, and that is, we have a small town, we have a small campus, we keep our classes small, so everything's much more personalized. All of our lab instructors are actual working medics as well, so they're all current on their certifications and their knowledge base. Every scenario that our students do during the time are real calls that have been performed by paramedics, so nothing's made up, everything is real. But I think the fact that we keep things so small and so personalized, it is much better for the students. They have access to the instructors. They have access to me basically 24 hours a day. Every second weekend, I open up the lab for a day and they come in for practice time if they want to. And I don't know if you can get that at larger colleges. They just don't have the resources that we do because of the fact that our size. I think that really adds a personal touch to it.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. I'm not going to ask the last question because it's pretty similar to the one that we just answered. So thank you so much. And then I'm actually going to ask Julie to talk a little bit about our entrance bursary and what that is all about.
All right, so the entrance bursary is $1,000 to all students who are attending a 2+ year program. This bursary is allocated the second semester of the first year, so it's added onto your account, so you pay $1,000 less on your tuition. I don't have all the specifics right now. I know last year we followed some dates that you had to pay your deposit by June 15th and follow all those important dates that we have with Ontario colleges, and that all colleges go by. So just tell everybody to look out on their offer letters, confirmation letters, and then we'll have more details on when it'll be available and until when.
I think it's on our website as well. I think there's a little bit of more detail there. I think just to be safe, apply before the February 1st deadline and then you're good. But like Julie was saying, it's $1,000. You don't have to apply for anything. Once you apply for the qualifying programs, it automatically comes off second semester tuition. I think it's the easiest bursary you'll ever get in your life. And it's really important that you take the time to check out our programs. And I don't think another college is doing bursaries quite like this, so definitely something to check out. Anything else that anyone wanted to say before?
No, just to add on to the bursaries, we also offer bursaries September and January each year where students can go apply for bursaries. So they do give out a large amount of money every semester for these bursaries. It's a really easy step to apply to and well worth it if you're receiving $500 to $1,000 extra, right?
Definitely. We actually have a webinar, a Navigating Northern webinar that we did on bursary. So if you were interested in hearing from our advisors some more information about that, that is also there as well to check out. Okay, I think that's it. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you, Terry, Craig, Rick, Julie, for being part of this with me. I really appreciate you guys taking the time. I know it's end of the year. It's very busy, and I really, really appreciate it. And for the viewers, if you did have any questions at all, you can reach all of us by email, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you do have. We do not have a webinar next week. We are going to start again in the new year, so keep an eye out for that every Wednesday at 1 p.m. and you can check that out online. Okay, stay connected, stay safe, and have a happy holiday season. Thanks, everybody.